Welcome everyone to another exciting edition of Firebytes. Today's edition, we're going to be covering a new hardware release. So just to recap, I am Johan Blumhardt. I'm the sales engineer for the Northwest. Today's agenda, let's go ahead and kick things off. We have an important news announcement on Fireware OS 12.0. So if you aren't familiar with 12.0 or you want to get involved in the beta, which is actually going on right now, feel free to head over to our software.watchguard.com page and you can sign right up for that beta. We're going to go take a look at the end of life, end of sale review, and then we're going to have that exciting announcement on the we call it X70 or M370, 470, 570 product overview. We're going to look at that independent third-party Miracom test results. We're going to take a look at some sizing tools, examples, some supported transceivers. That's a popular question that we get is, what kind of SFP modules can we put in there? We're going to look at the hardware guide and how to get you into these new products at an affordable price under our promotions program. And somewhere in there is an exciting opportunity for that pop quiz that Wendy mentioned to get a premium swag pack, I believe is what she called it. But stay tuned and we'll kick things off. So kicking it off right away with a Fireware OS 12.0 announcement, just want to let you know, part of that best of breed strategy that we have at WatchGuard is looking at our security vendors, right? As you're probably aware, we don't do anything, everything in-house. If you look at, for instance, a BMW car, look at the stereo on there, it's going to be a Bose or a higher end stereo. Much like BMW at WatchGuard, we take that same approach with best of class security. So as you look at, for instance, our antivirus, we reevaluated, took a look at our security products, and due to our scalar architecture, we could just rip out our previous antivirus engine, and we're switching that to Bitdefender for antivirus. Obviously, there's a lot better detection rates, more proactive than reactive than our previous solution. So just a heads up on that. That switch is actually out in 12.0 beta right now. Just make sure you upgrade by January 2018 to Fireware OS 12.0 so that you get those new security subscriptions or new antivirus signatures. Otherwise, you'll still be on our previous security vendor, and you'll just be locked into that last security signature set that you had from them. And obviously, there's going to be some other features included in 12.0, so stay tuned for some of that. But I just wanted to make sure that you are aware, easy way to illustrate that best of breed approach with a Bitdefender move for antivirus. So as we look at the end-of-life policy, again, you can find that at our website. Just go to resources. I have the URL there at the bottom. But again, that end-of-life policy, as you look at some of those older, if you had a 21 series or 25 series, you can get all those product announcements there. And this hardware release is so new, we still need to update some of these documentations on here. But for instance, if you're on a 515, your end of sale is going to be 2015, and then end of life is 2020. So just make sure that you look at that. And obviously, as we talk about some of the promotions today, you can actually get the new hardware practically for free. So stay tuned, and we'll cover that as well. So as we look at, what is it? I guess it's time for the pop quiz. Get ready to enter your answer here. So as we look at what percentage of attacks used encryption to disguise their entry and for command and control traffic. So again, just put that in the question panel. You have A, 3%, B, 37%, C, 41%, or D, 83%. So go ahead and submit that. In there, I see some questions coming in. A lot of people are eager to get those prize packs, so hopefully you're looking at that, Wendy, and we'll get a winner shortly on that. So as we look at what percentage of attacks used encryption to disguise their entry and for command and control traffic, the correct answer is, according to 2016 Ponemon study, 41%. So that was C, of attacks used encryption to disguise their entry and command and control traffic. So congratulations to all those that entered C or the actual percent, 41%. Wendy will get those prize packs out. The interesting thing is NSS Labs forecasts that as adoption rates continue, 75% of traffic will be encrypted by 2019. So as we look at our firewalls, look at some of our older generation firewalls that are maybe struggling to keep up with doing that HTTPS inspection, obviously our new products are going to be focused on being able to handle that traffic effectively. The interesting thing that I came across when researching this is Google search engine optimization is actually giving higher priority to sites with HTTPS. And when you think about the security of that, no surprise there that more and more websites are trying to get listed on Google through their SEO, so they're actually using more HTTPS inspection. Now, if you're familiar or you've been following along with Firebytes, I did a session a couple months ago on how to inspect HTTPS traffic on WatchGuard by deploying that certificate through the group policy objects. We also released a handy little tool called the Certificate Portal, where you can direct people to that website to go ahead and download that certificate. Obviously, for security reasons, there is no certificate that you can actually just buy through, for instance, GoDaddy to do that certificate authority. Otherwise, it would be too easy for hackers to do man-in-the-middle attacks. So as we look at the new lineup, we have the M370, 470, 570, and 670 overview. Now we have a tremendous amount of increased performance, up to 94% faster than some of our competitors for that encrypted traffic. So the other exciting thing is that the 470, 570, and 670 have expansion slots. So that allows us to do 4 10 gig fiber modules if we needed to do extra 8 1 gig copper or 8 1 gig fiber modules as well from there. So if you're familiar with our current 4600, 5600 series, that's been extremely popular with our customers to be able to customize the box and get extended ports on there and customize it for their environment. Now, as we talk about network segmentation, hopefully more and more of you are introducing network segmentation so that you're not transmitting your public, let's say you have a public Wi-Fi access point traffic alongside of that server traffic, and that you're privatizing that traffic by doing network segmentation. And with all these port options, you can configure them as you could have an extra additional external ISP connections. You could have, dedicate a port to your guest Wi-Fi traffic. So quite a bit of flexibility with that. And these are all based on that Intel processor. And, I mentioned previously that we have the best of class or best of breed approach. And that really starts out with the foundation of our processor. We're using Intel processors with Cave Creek crypto acceleration, which really helps out with that HTTPS inspection. Now, to kind of give it a rough overview on sizing here, the 370 is going to be perfect for 60 to 150 users. Obviously, if you have a more complex environment, feel free to reach out to your sales team. I cover the Northwest, as you might be aware. So feel free to reach out. We can have a sizing discussion, look at some of your individual network needs. But again, with this UTM throughput speeds, you're looking at 515 to 1100 megabits per second. Perfect for up to 150 users. Now, as we look at our 470 to 670, that's going to be applicable for our range of about 450 to 850 users. Now, obviously, those are just rough sizing guides. We actually have some tools to help dial in those numbers a bit more, but UTM speeds, we're looking at 2.1 to 4.2 gigabits per second, up to 750 VLANs. Again, great for network segmentation on there. Now, as we look at those, what options are available for the expansion slot modules? So as we look at, for instance, the 470, the 570, and the 670, again, these are also going to work with the 4600 and 5600 appliances. We actually have a tool on there to go ahead and build your Firebox tool, and that's on this website. I'll just go ahead and switch right over real quick, and we'll show you that option. So as we look at building your Firebox, so the first step is that we select the device. We have a 570, 670, and then we can simply look at which module we want to put in there, and it's going to tell us our SKUs. Now, you're probably familiar with Watchguard, and we are 100% channel focused. We can't sell you the products directly, but you can go to one of our partners, our value-added resellers, or national partners, and just give them the part numbers, and they'll be able to sell you the products. We also have our sizing guide. So under here, we have our number of users. We can put in, for instance, 50 users, see our solution. Now, if we wanted to cover, for instance, 150 users, see our solution. This also includes our new products, our M370 and our 470 from there. So again, going back to those Miracom test results, you look at the 370 out of the gate. The 370 isn't necessarily, it's pretty on par with some of our competitors. However, the speed really shines forth when we start to turn on those security services, because hopefully when you buy your firewall, you're actually buying it for the security services rather than just a packet filter or a network address translation box. So when you look at, for instance, go into your 370, your firewall out of the gate, you're looking at about 3,000 megabits per second. You turn on a firewall and IPS, intrusion prevention signatures, or your firewall and antivirus, and this is actually just going to get better. This is previous to our move to Bitdefender, so look for those results to even improve as well. At the end of the data sheet, we have our UTM speeds. So as we look at with all security services turned on, you can see the disparity between Watchguard, how it pulls ahead in relation to some of our competitors. And then we actually have our third-party firewall testing. And again, if you're looking for a tabletop appliance, you haven't checked out the T70 series, maybe you're just moving into the gig market, gig ISP speeds, the T70 is perfect for that. And then you have your M370. So again, you look at your throughput and you look at all services turned on, unified threat management, all those services, and that's at this, you can see the difference with Watchguard pulling ahead. So looking at the hardware specs, for those of you that are more technically inclined, you can look at the storage, the RAM, and the processor that we have for all of those boxes. Not going to spend too much time on this, but that is available. I do want to cover some of the new items on the spec sheet. So for instance, as we look at the M370, we look at some of the new items on there. So some of the new ones, as you might have seen already, are the IMEX numbers. Now, the IMEX numbers are going to be internet mix, and it refers to more of a real-world number out there. So the industry standard has been using UDP packet, and that's where that firewall throughput is. Now, if you want a more real-world example, you would look at the IMEX numbers. The other thing is that as we look at, for instance, IPS numbers, we now have a fast and full scan. So a fast is going to only look at the first couple of packets on that traffic stream, first 20 packets or 30 kilobytes in each connection, whereas a full scan is going to look at that full traffic through there. We also have HTTPS with IPS. So as we're talking about that inspecting, deep packet inspection, no extra cost with Watchguard, this is the speed that we can look to get out of our box. And then obviously our latest security product, TDR, Threat Detect and Response, which is a host-based ransomware application. We now have included license counts on there. So as you look at, for instance, host sensors included, you can cover 150 individual computers, laptops, servers with TDR. So regardless if they take their laptops off of the network with TDR Threat Sync, we still provide that same protection and stop that ransomware, Petya, WannaCry encryption process before it actually starts encrypting any of those files. Again, I covered some of that under our previous Firebytes, so make sure to check that out if you're interested in that as well. So the 470, 570, and 670 specs, you can see screaming throughput speeds across the board, 2.1, 3.5 under full UTM scans, and 4.2 as well for the 670. So again, feel free to check that out under our spec sheets. Now, as we look at what supported transceivers we have, so a lot of people want to know as they put in SFP modules in the fireboxes, maybe they have different needs to go up to long distance. We do have under our WatchGuard support knowledge base, there's an article on what supported transceivers we have. So you can buy that from WatchGuard, or you can look at those product numbers and buy them somewhere else as well. So as we look at some of the promotions available, you might be looking at the end of life for some of your products or end of support. So how can you get into some of these new boxes that we have? So we have a couple of programs that do end the end of September 30th. We have Red for Red Trade Up. It's basically like getting the box for free. And why renew that old hardware when you get the latest and greatest for a similar price? We also have a free high availability with competitive trade-in offers. So if you're looking at a HA solution, we do have a Firebytes covering that as well. So when you look at what that downtime represents for your organization, how you can get into that, we actually have a free high availability, it's for a penny. So you can buy your secondary box with 3 years of total security and get the secondary box for a penny. Just to recap those security subscriptions, you have your total security. So you have your support, your basic security, and then you have your total security, which includes APT blocker, which if you aren't familiar with is that sandboxing analysis. We're taking files as they come through, for instance, emails or web downloads. We're looking at them and we're looking at those 0-day threats, doing sandboxing analysis. Now, interesting thing, I don't want to give away too much, but with our latest TDR, we're actually providing that sandbox analysis as well through our TDR application. So again, a TDR sits on the desktop, and as a file comes in, let's say it makes it through the firewall. If we don't have any sort of knowledge of that file, maybe it's malicious, we're going to do a sandboxing analysis, and that's, again, covered through TDR. So we have data loss prevention. So again, as we look at our security services, there is no one single silver bullet that's going to stop ransomware out there or other malicious threats. However, if we take those security services and we layer them, that's going to provide our best approach to stopping those threats. So just to cover what some of these are, IPS is intrusion prevention signatures. So regardless if you have a Mac or a Windows, if you're using, for instance, Java or Flash, those software packages are riddled with security vulnerabilities, especially if you're not keeping up to date on them. And I've talked to a number of people, and unfortunately, some of them say, well, my security strategy is that updates are up to the users. And unfortunately, in that case, users aren't updating. Either they don't have admin privileges, which is more recommended from a security strategy, or it's an inconvenience and they don't want to update. So IPS is going to provide those signatures, Heartbleed, Petya, WannaCry, some of those command and control traffic streams are able to be stopped with IPS as well. And then we have app control. So in the olden days, we said, let's stop bandwidth intensive applications such as YouTube. But now we could say, let's go ahead and just limit that through. There's also, for instance, some command and control traffic that we're able to stop through application control as well. A web blocker that's using WebSense, which was bought out by ForcePoint and Raytheon. But that's going to address adult websites, also malicious command and control traffic centers as well. We're going to stop that. Spam blocker obviously is protecting if we have an on-prem email server. We're stopping those phishing attempts and other malicious files from coming in that way. Antivirus, reputation-enabled defense. I think this is one of the cards on our security stack that doesn't necessarily get as much attention as it should. And this is actually saving about 25 to 35% of your bandwidth. If you're familiar with airports and they have that TSA pre-check, it's quite similar to that, where we automatically pre-screen any threats as they come through or any objects, and we either give it a fast pass or fast deny to be able to block those threats. And again, there's more going on behind the scenes on it. But a customer in Alaska, looking at ESPN.com, his Firebox is actually scanning all those objects, and it reports back to the cloud. So it's a cloud-based reputation authority service. And as we look at that security stack, again, from IPS all the way down to TDR, being able to provide 100% holistic protection for your networks. So as we look at the full lineup, this is a great way to increase your value. we have a lot of customers or partners that have a variety of these boxes, from T10s maybe all the way on up to 5600s. And as we look at the management of them, we have centralized management. We also have the same management across the board, regardless if it's a T10 or a 5600. It's the same interface, so you can have your technicians or your users train up on your T10 and be able to manage all those products across the boards with basically just the speeds and feeds changing. We also have Firebox V. We're also in the cloud. We have it's a very exciting time at Watchguard with some of our new products. And then obviously we have our Wi-Fi solutions as well. So with that, I wanted to say thank you so much for your time. The next Firebytes is September 8th, so stay tuned on the topics. And this is our YouTube channel. Feel free to check it out. We'll also be posting this recording as well. So if you want to go back, review those stats, feel free to do that. But we'll see you next time at the next Firebytes. So thanks so much and have a great day.